Hey guys, how's it going? Ghosty Rich here today, and today we are going to be changing the front brakes out on this 2014 Honda Civic. Super simple. If you're wondering which pads, I always like these Robestus ones for bang for buck. They seem to just do just what you're looking for. Again, you can always go with Hawk or Brembo or whatever the heck you want, but for the simple everyday driver, these should be just fine. First thing we're going to want to do, we're going to have to crack these bolts loose so that way when we go to lift up our vehicle we can take our tire off. So first thing you're going to want is either a socket or you can grab the one from your spare tire jack if you want, but we're just going to crack them. Don't loosen them off, don't do anything like that, just get that initial tension off while the wheel is on the ground. If you have a standard, make sure you either chuck the wheels or you put your e-brake on at the very least. When you do this, it's this way, down, just so you know. And like I said, once you go, do not loosen them off, just crack the tension so that way you'll be able to spin them once we lift the car. So for me, if you want to, if you're using a service jack, you can always do it this way. Some people like to just use their service jack that comes with their car. We call them suicide jacks. I don't ever suggest using them. I would suggest using an actual jack and jack stand like so. What I like to do is leave this jack stand in here like so, plus leave my jack in there. So that way, if for some reason this fails, which 99% chance it's not, but just in case, you still do have your jack here to catch it. And just lifting it with the jack, always use a jack stand, because if this fails, the hydraulic fails or anything, last thing you want is your car crashing to the ground. Once you do that, now if we come over here, I'm gonna back this light up a little bit, all we're gonna do is loosen off our lug nuts, and after the lugs are off, pull your tire out of the way. So if we're looking at our brake pads like so, and you look at the very back, right here, you're going to see that there is a number 12 bolt. So take a 12 millimeter on a ratchet, loosen this bolt, and there's one more right here on the bottom, right where my thumb is. So one there and one here. After we have those, we should be able to wiggle this whole caliper right off of here. Best to do the bottom one first. I did the top one first and then it tried to spin on me. So the best thing to do is just undo the bottom one and then undo your top one. Literally slide the caliper off. You can rest it up here like this. Be careful, obviously. You just don't want it to fall and break the brake line, but if you're careful, you don't have to worry about it. So, analyze how this is set in here, because we're gonna be putting them in the exact same way. See how these springs sit, feel around it, just get an overall for it. For me, I see how it is, so grab these two little J-hooks. You'll see that they're like this. And we'll get these out of the way. And then you can either use your hands, use whatever the heck you want, but you're literally just gonna work the old pads out. So, opened up our new brake pads. We have, as you can see, one will have this piece, which of course is your back pad, which we know from taking them off. So, just break them down like this. You'll also see here's those little J hooks that we took off. So make sure you put these back in. And then the next thing is the shims. So right here, go pry out this shim. And now take this, match it up with the correct one. I'm guessing this one, ta-da. That looks about it right there. Same lengthwise side, everything like so. And literally just take it and work it back in the way you took it out. It should just clip onto here like so. Yeah. But yeah, just bend them in and then do the same with the bottom one. Get it so it's nice fitting in here, and let's replace these pads. Those shims, this one is our top one. How do you know? Well, when we took it out, we knew that this was on top because the brake pad sits like this. So it's easier to show you how to slide these in with the front pad. You literally take this and you just line it up in those shims, and you're just gonna wedge this pad back in. So this was just a shim for the back of this pad. See how these ones have the metal right across? This one actually had a piece of metal and that one just had that. So you don't have to reuse this. Leave this over here. So the next thing we need to do, we have to go to our caliper here and we're gonna have to put this piston back. So how do you do that, you might be asking? Well, we're gonna take this and we're gonna flip it. And I have a piston tool. So with most brakes, what you can do is usually just tighten that inside the piston and it would retract the caliper. And it would work that way, usually. But the problem is with this piston it's not a solid piston, it's actually hollow on the inside. So you would take your brake tool, again, I suggest buying one of these. These are like $5, $10, I don't know. They're really cheap. But you grab one of these, you grab one of your old pads, you're gonna slip it in between here. Let's see if it'll fit. Might have to loosen this off a little bit more. But you just do this, and then now you tighten it. Now watch this. As I'm tightening it, just so you can see why you do this. It's gonna be harder for me to show you, but see how it's retracting the piston? That's what we want to happen. You want that piston to fully retract. So keep tightening this until that piston is fully inside. And you'll be able to, you'll notice it. It's quite tough once it's maxed out. That's what it looks like when it's fully retracted. Now you're just gonna seriously grab this and we're gonna just wiggle it on. Once you get it on here, you push this in with your finger, put your first screw in, go down to the bottom one, like so, and just literally push it in too with a finger, and then line it up and thread in with your fingers the 2 bolts. So when you're putting these in, you'll see that these are actually the blockers that keep your inside rod right here from spinning. So if you look right here, you can see this part, you'll see that there's a nub on your caliper that sits right beside it so this doesn't spin. That might get in your way if you're trying to put it in. So just make sure you flip this and make sure it just rests on there so you have something that's gonna hold on, and after that, just tighten these up. Now, I don't have a torque spec for these because I do so many brakes that I have a feel for it. All you do is you tighten it with one hand and literally tighten it with that one hand. Do not He-Man this thing. You're gonna snap it if you do. Some people like to use blue Loctite on this. That is completely up to you. I don't usually use that unless you've got a vehicle that is going through some crazy off-road terrain. But other than that, I just usually tighten these up to where you can feel it. It'll be tight, but you're not like He-manning it. And don't use 2 hands, just use one. Example, you put it on, I already tightened this one, but literally what I do is I grab the top of the ratchet, and you can see what my arm's doing. I'm bowing it, but that is as tight as I want to go. I'm not grabbing at the bottom and trying to get leverage on it. I'm just grabbing right here and going. After you do that, and these are in like so, you can now, yep, that one's good too. Slide your rim back on. Slide it on, tighten these up, take your ratchet if you want, and literally just tighten them up. Don't crank on them at all. Just literally get them so they're snug and the rim is snug against the rotor. After you do this, let's get this off the jack stand so that way we can crank these down. Now, if you're using a torque wrench, you'll do 80 foot-pounds of torque if you want. Some people only do 65. This is completely up to you. I've seen guys try to do 90 foot-pounds on their Hondas, and you don't really need that. But anyways, once you get these, get this on the ground, you're gonna tighten it like so. Tighten this bolt, and this bolt, and this bolt, and this bolt, and this bolt. And you're just gonna continuously keep going in a star pattern. And the reason why is that way pressure is equally applied. So don't crank them all on in one go. Literally crank this one a little bit, crank this one a little bit, and then go. The biggest thing is with these is if you go too tight, you're not gonna be able to take it off if you have to switch it out for a spare. So don't go too tight, but even then, you don't want your tire rolling away from you. Anyways, I'm gonna end the video here because you don't really need to see me doing much more. Just basically, when you switch your brakes, make sure if you're doing front and rears, do one, take the car for a drive around the block, and then do your rears. So that way, if you do all 4 at once and you don't know the feeling or the proper steps, you don't want to be rolling through the next door neighbor's fence or something like that because you did your brakes wrong. All right, thanks again for watching. Press like if you did, and then subscribe for more.